Well, good evening, everyone, and I just wanted to start the show, the presentation, and before we get started, I just wanted to see if everybody can hear me. So if we can do a check and everybody can tell me that they can hear me. If you're having any trouble, just let me know, and we're going to start the presentation. So for this evening's webinar, I'd like to just get you accustomed to the webinar tools, and if you have any questions whatsoever during the presentation, please click on the raising your hand right here, and this will allow me to be able to see that you have a question. Then what you can do is if you can post it in the question box, we'll be able to unmute you, and you'll be able to tell us, answer a question. But for starters, you will be in a mute during the presentation. Now, to get started, I just wanted to tell a little bit about who Peak Solar is. And we are a large integrator of solar products. What we do is we design and develop photovoltaic systems, and those are solar electric systems. And we design these solar electric systems all over the country. We have 5 locations throughout the country, and we have 3 distribution warehouses. They include New Jersey, Texas, and also in California. So wherever in the country we have access for product and systems throughout the country. Now, our members of our company have been in the solar industry for about 15 years now. And the company has been around for 5 years, but our members were part of a Westinghouse division, so we've been around for a long time in the solar industry. Below you can see a number of jobs that we've done before. So, tonight we have a number of topics, and we're going to keep it pretty short through the Solar 101. And I think we have our first question. Okay, just want to get to that. There wasn't one, but we're going to go over what is solar energy, how a photovoltaic system works. We're going to go over what is the payback on a solar system, and how do I size up my own solar system. So to start off with, we're going to talk about solar energy and what it is. Well, with solar energy, there's 2 different types of that type of energy. And there is photovoltaic. That's where the light actually is turned into electricity. And then there's also thermal. And that's basically generated from a heat source. As you can see below, it's a photovoltaic system includes something like solar panels. They include racking and also inverters. Whereas the thermal system would include something like some type of, it would look like a solar panel, it would collect the energy, and then there would be some type of heat exchange. And a solar thermal would be something like heating water for your home. So that would be the type of the difference. Whereas one is you're providing electricity that would go into your home, whereas the other would be powering it from water, hot water, and such. Now, what we do at Peak Solar is we do a lot of photovoltaic systems. We actually do, it is good for our own, we're able to do the photovoltaic, which is the electric systems. So we're going to concentrate more on that. Now, what I have is how does a photovoltaic system work? And there's really 3 big components to it. You've got your solar cells. Those are the basic components that it builds up, and it builds up into a solar module. As you can see, those are the things that look blue. They're on a building or they're on a ground mount and such. And you're going to have an inverter, which then would then power something. Now, the basic thing about a solar cell is actually the light. It will come in the form of a light wave, and it will hit the solar cell. And the solar cell has these electrons on it. It will knock an electron, which then it will go free, and that electron would then go on these white lines, and it would go to a battery, or it would go into somebody's home. So that's basically one of the ways that a solar cell, the electricity would start. And to convert it, you would have an inverter. Most solar power is in the form of DC when you start. That's similar to a battery that you have in a car. Well, you need to have AC, or alternating current. And the alternating current would allow you to use in your house. And the next slide shows the how solar works in a home. And as you can see, the solar rays basically, it hits the solar panels, and as you can see right here, it's converted from DC into AC. The solar energy then gets converted, and it would then go into your house, such as in your television or in your lights. If there is no need for energy in the house, then it would go back onto your meter, and it would go back into the grid. And through government incentives, it allows you to basically have the meter go backwards. So what you can do is you can do debits and credits with your utility company. Therefore, during the day, you are producing energy, electricity, and your meter's going backwards. And at night, your meter would go forward, so you're using the energy back and forth with the utility company. The reason why we prefer to use the grid as our power source is because it allows us to have a cheap alternative. Batteries are usually more costly, and they only last between 5 to 7 years. So now we use the grid as our backup source. And we do have a hand raised, and I'm just going to unmute Keith. And Keith, you have a question?
Yeah, actually, I raised my hand, and then you actually just mentioned about batteries. I was wondering if you could just elaborate a little bit more on that. If I wanted just a battery system, could I get one? And also, if I wanted, or was that like more of an ancient technology? And if I wanted, like, just elaborate a little bit in terms of the sun hits the panels produce energy, the energy goes into the inverter. Does the inverter go into the grid, or does it go into my home? What happens to the power that I use out of my home, and how is that subtracted out of what I use?
Yes. So Keith, what happens is the power would go into your home first, and if there's a need in your home, such as a television, or if there's a light, then it would go towards that what's called a load. It would go towards that need in the house. If there is nothing in the house, what's going to happen is energy is like water almost, and other forms of what it does is energy likes to go where there's least resistance. So what happens is if there is a resistance in the home, then it's actually going to go back onto the grid. When you talked about the battery source, batteries can be used in certain circumstances. It's not an ancient technology anymore. This is there are certain circumstances, such as cabins and such, which will allow you. There might be a need for it, but the most cost-effective way is actually is through this type of grid tie system. And basically what you're doing is you're using the utility as your energy, as your battery source. Keith, did I answer your question? You're now unmuted. So.
Absolutely. Yes, and thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. And I just want to let you know that Max asked a question, and I just want to let you know that after the presentation, we will try to post this up to YouTube, and you'll be able to have a copy of the presentation. So if that answered your question, just want to make sure. All right. So, okay. And so we're going to get started with the next part. And the next part we're going to talk about the types of modules. And there's a number of different types of modules out there. And there's the standard ones in the industry are either they're monocrystalline or polycrystalline. Those are the blue or the black modules. And there's also thin film. And the difference between them, there's a number of differences, but we're going to concentrate on monocrystalline and polycrystalline. But the thin film, I want to let you know that that's similar to what you would have in your calculator. A standard calculator would have a thin film, and that's really not that efficient. It's only maybe 4 to 10% efficient, whereas monocrystalline and polycrystalline are much more efficient. Now, what we're going to talk about is the difference between monocrystalline and polycrystalline solar panels. And the monocrystalline are these black modules. They're usually higher efficiency, just slightly higher. They're approximately about 10% higher in efficiency than the polycrystalline or the blue panels. They're usually what are considered a pseudo-square. And what I mean about a pseudo-square is it's not really a square. It's more, it looks like between a circle and a square. And what it does is it has this white area surface area. That's where you see the white area in it. That's actually the back sheet of the panel. As I said, the panel is good for limited surface area. If you only have a small amount of surface area, you might want to go with monocrystalline panel. Again, as I said, it only gives you about 10% more power. If you have a 5 kW system, you're only going to get about 5.5 kW up there. So it really doesn't give you that much more. And it's also a higher cost. Whereas polycrystalline, they're usually a square cell. Personally, I think they look better. They're that bluish structure. And they're usually a lower price. The reason why is they are considered the workhorse of the industry. If you're in Germany, where Germany is the epicenter of solar today, polycrystalline is used tremendously out there. So it is that workhorse in the industry. And the next thing, part of the solar system would be the inverter. And as I said, the inverter actually converts it from DC into AC. And I think we have a question for Keith. Here's another question. Keith, you have a question?
Hi, thank you. And if we can go back a slide, I just have a quick question on the panels itself. I was told that if I wanted to, and I know this was a fad a while ago, I wasn't sure if they still make them, panels that will blend into the system, more like panels that are look like roofing tiles. Or do you guys still make that, or is that still an option, or is it impractical at this point?
Well, about 5 to 7 years ago, it was more practical. There was a company called Open Energy that actually used these special roofing tiles, and they were integrated into it. That type of solar cell is less efficient, and it's harder to make the process, to control the process on the solar cell. It's much harder. The efficiency is not as well, and so we don't actually do that anymore, and it's not usually cost effective. So I do recommend that you don't go towards that, but that was one of the solutions that was sort of a fad in the previous about 5 to 7 years ago. So, did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. So basically they don't sell them anymore, or if they do, they're not really that practical.
Yeah, they're usually not that practical. The majority of them are either the black panels or they would be a blue panel, and they do make them every so often, but they're usually higher price and they're not as efficient. You'd only really use it for maybe an artistic use. I see a lot of times in the art world they would want it. It's more of an impractical use. So, all right, all right. So I'm gonna get back onto the inverter, and basically the inverter. There's a number of different types of inverters. There's a centralized inverter. Those are the most common type of inverters. They've been around for about 40 years now. And the other two inverters are either microinverters or there's power optimizers. And we're going to go into the difference in them. And you can see these are a couple of the different types of inverters they have. The SMA is one of the most well-known centralized inverter. They're usually the orange inverter. And Power One's also a big one. And there's also Infix. And we're going to go more into detail into that. As you can see, this is an SMA inverter. It's normally called Sunny Boy. So that's one of the types of names you might hear in the industry. They've been around, as I said, they've been around a long time, and they're well done and they're highly reliable. The only real downfall is that actually, as you can see, it has a low cost to it. That's a positive. Only downfall is that there is some shade intolerance. What I mean by shade intolerance is if you have some shading on your roof or on a ground, some type of form, and you have some type of shade, well, what's going to pull down this system? What I mean is you're going to pull it down based on what's being shaded, and it might have an effect on the whole entire system. Now that can be a real problem to people that want to have a lot of it. They want to have the electricity. However, if you don't have any shade and you're in a good position, the centralized inverters are probably the most reliable, and they're the best technology out there because they've had proven track records. Now there is also one solution that has come up very recently. Is there are inverters that have dual MPPTs, and what that means is that if you look at this inverter, if you think about it, where the inverter has two different inverters inside of it. Basically, you have one section on your roof, and you would have another section, and it would allow each one of them to act independently. So if you have some shading on one of the roofs, or if you have different angles, then they'll work independently, and they won't cause the other section to come down to the basically the least amount of watts. What I mean is say you have a flat roof and you have a 30-degree roof. Well, the flat roof is going to produce less energy than the 30-degree tilt panels. So if you have two different sections, well, they'll work independently. If you have one section or one system and one is flat and the other is tilted, well, then that's going to, the least amount of energy is going to dictate what you're going to have for the whole system. Well, with an MPPT system, you're not going to have that problem. The next thing that's really popular today are the microinverters. And as you can see right here, Enphase is one of the great examples. They've been out about 10 years now. They're a great product, and they're very easy to customize. Any of the do-it-yourselfers, they love to use them because they're really a plug-and-play type of system. They allow you to mount them in different roof sections. As I said, You can have them on different gables, different shadings, different areas. So it's a really easy solution. Another solution, like say you have a ground mount system and you have 30 panels, and the string sizing from the centralized inverter just doesn't work. Well, the microinverter, you can basically build the system up as much as you want it, or as little as you want. Say you want to have a 1 kW system. Well, a microinverter, you can do that. Whereas a central inverter, you might have to have a 2 kW, a 2,000 watt system. So there's a lot more flexibility. The other really beneficial part is you have individual monitoring of each of your panels. So for example, if you have a panel that's being shaded, say a tree starts shading it, well, that panel you're going to be able to tell in real time that panel is being shaded. So it's a great tool to have. Now, the last section that you would need is you need your racking. And the racking is, there's a number of different types of racking, but we're going to concentrate on the roof mount and the ground mount racking. And the roof mount usually has some type of rails. They would go to either a lag bolt, an L-foot to a lag bolt, and it would go into the truss of your roof. And you would use either with or without a flashing. A flashing is something to prevent water into the roof. Now, a lot of times we don't use flashings, but what we do is we use a good polyurethane. And a good polyurethane is much better than, it is a great product to use. If you don't use it, you may have some leaks, so you want to be careful about that. And the other thing is that with a roof mount, you may have a Spanish tile or so, and the Spanish tile, you may need to have a tile hook, and tile hook allows you to not penetrate the roof. Now, there's also the ground mount structure, and the ground mount structure is either in a field, and this allows you to be able to, it's in a field, it would have posts, the post would then be connected to rails, and they would be in a free field or any other type of structure on the ground. There's also pole mount, but they're extremely, they're high cost compared to the other two solutions. Now, as we talked about the modules, the inverters, and the racking. And the inverters and the racking are very easy to pick because there's not too many manufacturers out there. There are some. There's SMA. There's Fronius, and they're excellent German companies. They're produced. SMA produces here in the United States, in Denver, Colorado. Racking, Unirac is an amazing company. So those are really good companies to work with. However, the module manufacturer, there are thousands of module manufacturers out there. So you got to definitely be careful with it. So I want to give you some recommendations about module manufacturers. And a couple of the module manufacturers that you want to talk about, you want to look at somebody that has some type of brand recognition. What I mean is if you think about it, Sharp or Hyundai, those are really high brand recognition companies. Now, in the solar field, there's companies such as Trina, there's Canadian Solar, and these are all Tier 1 manufacturers. What I mean by Tier 1 is they have higher brand recognition, they have deep pockets, such as they're on the NASDAQ, and they have the funds behind it. You also have they have a third-party warranty behind it. Now, again, a third-party warranty is very important in the industry because the fact is that solar module manufacturers come and go. When I started in the industry 7 years ago, BP and Shell were the #1 solar manufacturers in the industry. Today, they're no longer in the industry. So we highly recommend that you look for somebody who has a third-party warranty. Now, there are also Tier 2 manufacturers. They're usually a lower-cost manufacturer. They don't have the deep pockets such as the high-brand companies, but they do have third-party warranty, and they're usually a good alternative. Some of these companies include Renergy, Sun. So you want to look at either brand-oriented or a Tier 2, but you want to make sure that you go with somebody with quality and expertise, and you do your research that they've been around. These products you want it to last for at least 25 years, and that's just a minimum amount. In the industry, these panels, through research that's done at NASA and research that's done in Japan, these panels have been lasting a lot longer, and they're still out there. So you want to make sure that they're lasting. Now, today, solar panels are built in Korea, India, Taiwan, China, and also the U.S. The Taiwanese and Chinese panels are just as good as either Korean and India. People say that they're probably low efficiency and such, and there might be problems, but I've been to a number of their factories over in China and also in Taiwan. I've been also in the United States. I used to work for a cell manufacturer, a Westinghouse division, up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I will tell you, the Taiwanese and Chinese companies, they have state-of-the-art factories, and they're good product. So if you think about it, a laptop or computer is probably made over there, and it probably never touches a person's hand. So they're very good products. We also have U.S.-made panels, and U.S.-made panels are probably about 20% more expensive. Sharp makes a U.S.-made panel in Tennessee. There's also One Soltech out of Dallas that makes a very good product. Now, we went through and we talked about the solar product and what it was. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the benefits. Why are you doing this? Why would someone put this thing on the roof? Well, the first thing is you want to drastically reduce your electric bill. You want to say, okay, I want an investment, something for the future. You probably want to have a quick payback in the solar system, and one of the things that people want to do is they want to increase the property value. That's one of the things that a solar system will do. It will allow you to add value to your home. So, and a number of the other areas that they might want to do that is they might want to reduce their carbon footprint, do something good for the world, and one of the big things is to reduce their dependence on the power company. I'll tell you, there are people that call me up every single day and they get so tired of working with their utility company. However, I say with the solar system, as we said a number of slides back, it's actually good to use the solar system as your battery source. You might want to get rid of them, but if you use them as your battery source, you're actually working with them, and they're getting a benefit from you. Because actually solar during the day, energy is harder for them to make during the day. There's more demand. So if you're producing during the day, they're actually, they don't want to tell you this, but it actually helps them out. It takes a lot of demand off of them. However, you're going to be reducing your dependence on the utility company. Again, what you're going to do is you're going to lock in the electricity at the current value, and with inflation, you're going to have it for the next 25 years. Now, the last couple slides we'll talk about is we're going to talk about the financial incentives, and there's a number of financial incentives all throughout the country. And some of the incentives that are include 1603. And 1603 is a tax law by the states, the federal government, that says that everyone is allowed to take 30% off of a renewable energy, a solar photovoltaic or a thermal system, and you're able to take that as a tax credit. So say you have a payroll tax, and you can offset that amount. And that allows you to take a large benefit. Now this benefit is going to allow you to have it through 2016. There's also state credits. Hawaii has about 35%, North Carolina, and also New York State has a number of benefits. There's also SRECs. Those are solar renewable energy credits, and they're mostly up in the Northeast, and they're ways to get a financial payback for the energy credit for the energy that you use. There's also utility rebates in almost every state. PG&E, Southern California Edison have the rebates. The programs are starting to dwindle a little bit, but there is still a benefit there. There are feed-in tariffs. Feed-in tariff is basically you put the energy back into the grid and you get paid for a certain amount. And then there's also high electric rates in California, in Southern California, and also in Northern California. You have a tiered structure. And as you can see, if you're in tier 2, 3, and 4, you're going to be hitting either the 20 and 25 cents per kilowatt range. So that high electric rate, you can offset your, with a solar system, you can offset your tier 4, 5, 3, 4, and 5, and you can get back into tier 1, which is only going to be about 10 to 14 cents per kilowatt, which is really good benefit. Now, this is an example of a typical system in Fresno, California. This is within the PG&E area. And a typical system is going to have about a 2.9 year payback. Now that's if you're working with a pretty good installer. Right now the average throughout all of California is about 5.5 years. But there are ways to get it down to a 2.2 or 2.9 years. You're going to have with this type of system, you're going to have about 36% return on your investment. And the cash over the lifetime of the system is going to be about $230,000. So it's going to be a pretty significant system. As you can see right here, this is the cash flow payback for this entire system. As you can see, from the negative all the way to the positive over the amount of years. Now, the last part about tonight is how do I size my own system? And I can give you a number of recommendations. One of the biggest things is what we can do is we can help you size a system with your specific needs. What we usually need is we need either your winter and your summer bills. We need an email address and a zip code. And we can build, we can show you the incentives, and we can show you the cash flow payback. And what we usually do is when we're sizing a system, we take the electric rate and we would then calculate what your specific needs are. We would look at your roof area, we would look at all of your factors, and we would come up with a recommendation and talk with you. Again, we can help you size up the system, give you an idea, and just talk to you about that. Now, the last part is if you have any questions, you can either contact me This is J.R. Booker at peaksolar.com. You can call my cell phone number anytime, day or night. And if you also have any questions, please feel free to go to peaksolar.com. We have a chat box at the page, and we have someone there to answer any of your questions. So if you have any questions during the day, please feel free to go there and you can get your questions answered. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to the audience, and I really appreciate everybody for staying with me. And if you have any questions right now about the whole solar system. So, all right. And do we have any questions tonight? All right, Keith. Hey, well, thank you very much. And
Hi, how you doing?
good. Well,
I don't mean to take over all the questions, and I apologize to anyone else in the area. I just want to say I think you've done a hell of a job tonight, and I greatly appreciate you taking the time, effort, and energy out and to explain this to us. My question: I'm in Tampa, and I was wondering if you could. I have Tico Electric, and I understand they're doing something. I'm not exactly sure what. I was wondering if you knew anything about that, if you could maybe say a couple words.
yeah. Tico has a solar electric rebate system, and their solar rebate system is in October. And we've worked with a number of utilities. We've worked with Tico before, and got the rebate for our customers in Florida. And that's within the October. That's happens about October 1st, and there's about $4 million available for rebates within the region. What that will do is, between the rebate and the 30% from the federal government, you're looking about a 3 to 4 year payback on a solar system. So it's a pretty good payback system with the rebate. Florida has about 12 cents per kilowatt for their electricity. If you don't have a rebate, a solar system is going to take about 10 to 12 years for a payback. However, if you're in a region and you have a high demand, such as you have high demand charges, then your payback is definitely going to be coming down. So, did that answer your question, Keith?
Yeah, you did. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And does anybody else have any questions tonight? Well, thank you very much for everybody coming to the presentation tonight, and I really appreciate, hopefully, that everybody got something out of the presentation. And if you have any questions whatsoever, as I said, you can feel free to email me directly at jrbooker@peaksolar.com, or you can call me at this 813-482-4871, or feel free to go to peaksolar.com and chat with us on the board, and you can ask any question. As I said, we are going to have this webinar up in the next 24 hours. We should have it online, and in case you missed some of the presentation, you'll be able to listen to it. After the presentation, there is a quick survey, and I ask that you give if you could just answer any questions. It'll definitely help us out tonight. Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate it, and have a great night. Thank you.